So I wanted to share my rice bucket routine that I use about 2 times a week throughout my training. I have a very dainty wrist, as you can kind of see, so my wrists have a tendency to take a beating during training, and this helps me keep them healthy, keep them strong, and keep them ready for the barbell since I am a weightlifter. Now, I did some hand training and rice bucket work growing up as a martial artist, so the idea of rice bucket training was something familiar to me and something I enjoyed doing. So it was easy to bring back and into my routine. So here you're seeing a very basic one that I do, like I said, 2 times a week, maybe three. And I'm just doing a series of exercises and I'm aiming for about 10 to 20 reps. However, I would recommend if you do rice bucket training to go for time instead, because this is an exercise that has that kind of flowing resistance via the rice. So it's easier to use time until you kind of get that burn. Now what you're seeing here is 3 to 4 different kind of exercises. I start off with some wrist rotations in both directions, mostly because the wrist doesn't get that level of work in training usually. And this is a good way to kind of build some range of motion and some strength in those ranges of motion. So I circle clockwise and counterclockwise. You saw earlier I was doing some pawing, so I was basically doing wrist flexion in the rice bucket. What I've noticed for my forearms and my wrists is that they kind of cock back really quickly throughout training when they get tired. So my extensors typically are strong, but my flexors or curling that wrist in is very weak. So I try to dedicate some more time to that versus working my extension. And then finally, so this is some of the pawing is what I'm calling it. And like I said, I'm really working on that sort of flexion in particular. And I usually finish off with some finger extensions instead, mostly because we do so much grip work that is focused on closing the hand or closing the fingers. So I try to finish with extending them just to keep that kind of balance. Now you'll see I'm not putting my hand all the way into the rice. It's mostly because I took a bit of a break from doing this, so I'm just getting back into my regular schedule. So I'm not really pushing the intensity too much, but over time I scale it by pushing my hand deeper into the rice and also doing these exercises for longer. So I wanted to share. Hope that helps.